Hi guys, how are you doing? This is Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation 360, and this is your Fast Track Friday, your Cassandra capsule, a little dose of what you need to kind of get through the day and some action steps to hope you be able to kind of implement some strategies and move on. Again, Cassandra Williams, this is um, sponsored by Ed Connected. And so very excited to receive sponsorship by them. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in right now. Sorry, not Ed Connected. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Not Ed Connected. This is sponsored by Transform Ed. Hey over there, Transform Ed, David. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to talk about some of the things that we need to just consider. Right, let's talk about our teachers. Teacher retention has been so crucial now and forever will be something that's always on my mind. How do I keep our teachers? Of course, thinking about how do we keep our quality teachers, as well as what are some strategies and tools we can use today to really support that initiative. So, really understand what is our challenge today. So, we know, schools are lose about 8% of teachers eventually in some high schools, 16 to 20%. But really thinking about last year, one of the schools that I was supported to kind of go work through, they lost 17 teachers. And I'm like, wow, 17 teachers is a lot. They were like, well, no, that's the trend of what we are experiencing. So last year we lost 15, this year was 17. So really thinking about these are our challenges in our current time, and then identifying why are our teachers leaving. Really being able to pour in them and get true input from them, and thinking of what that looks like when we're working with our teachers. So and then, of course, there's a ripple effect, really thinking about performance, student, some of the behaviors that we're seeing in the schools, teachers overwhelmed, teachers burnt out. Those are kind of some of those ripple effects and thinking about teacher retention. All right, so let's talk about like our onboarding programs, which is so crucial to really engaging teachers when they first come and our relationship. So, one of the things I've seen often is the first of the year. Hyped up, building connections, partnership, welcome packages, really thinking of how do we engage. And we are very successful with engaging teachers that beginning of the year, that first crux of you came in the beginning of the year and you are highly celebrated, highly welcome, hyper connected. What I see kind of the drop off is when a teacher starts off maybe mid-year or 2 months into the year. They don't get that woo-ha, that mentorship, that celebration, and thinking of what do you do to celebrate them at the beginning? How do you make sure that's sustainable throughout the year when you continuously bring people in? And so thinking about what does your onboarding process look like now with AI, we can have automated systems to where people get alerts and emails when they need to meet with the mentor or their mentee, or like thinking of what programs they'll need at what time and being able to schedule those, or maybe video learning to where we are really working with the teachers through asynchronous learning. So thinking about what do your onboarding programs look like at the beginning year and what do they look like mid-year when you bring a new teacher on, and just constantly that year-long ongoing support for our new teachers and anybody who's new to our building. Developing mentorship. Now, thinking of who are we partnering our teachers with? I was at one school, they were like, well, we only have Miss Jones, and Miss Jones has only been here for maybe a month, right? So, who are the other people in the building that people could be partnered with? It doesn't have to be veteran, but thinking of like connection, personality, relationship, our mentors, and being intentional to carefully select our mentors. And then what does that structured interaction look like? Like maybe it's a form they fill out and submit. Maybe it's a document they kind of capture and always putting in their files. And then being able to recognize them and celebrate their success. But at the end, we want to also make sure people are getting compensated, One of the things that some of our teachers struggle with is not just being compensated for their time. So it's one thing for the mentor to be compensated, which is great because we do that all the time. But the other component is compensating the teacher so that she shows up and she is present and ready to learn as well. So what does that compensation look like for developing a robust mentorship? Do they have partners? Are they connected? Are they hyper connected? And what are the structures that you have in place to ensure that your mentors are doing the best that they can and everybody shows up and as well? Okay. So now this is big. Having a teacher voice, teacher autonomy, teacher buy-in, right? Many times our leaders struggle with listening, getting input, highlighting the teacher, right? Marking the teacher when the teacher says something. It was like, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and let's try to implement that, right? And say, hey, Mrs. Jones, she thought that this would be a great idea. We all agree that this is a great idea. Kudos to Mrs. Jones. We're working the plan, right? We've planned the work, now we're working the plan. So really thinking of how do we highlight teacher voice? We're always talking about student voice. Why not teacher voice? So having the shared decision making, really thinking about what does the curriculum look like? How can we have input in the curriculum? Who do we need to include? Understanding our community. What are our teacher leadership roles? Where does that play out in the classroom? Maybe think about like different hierarchies, different pathways for teachers, being able to support our teachers. And professional growth. What are the professional developments that we provide? So it's two sides of this coin. One side is professional development that's always given within. And then there's the other side, professional development of outsiders. So, of course, at EI 360, shameless plug, we support teachers in ongoing professional development. But what I love to say is there are some gems and some things that teachers are trying that we can implement as PD. And so it will not only engage teachers because they're always celebrating their peers, it will spark the ignition for more teachers to try more things. So think about that when we're talking about professional growth and autonomy and feedback. Thinking of what of our surveys, how do we get our suggestion systems from our parents, our families, to our teachers, to our staff, to our secretary? How do we get the suggestion model going to where it's ongoing suggestions, ongoing feedback, and we're constantly checking. I remember working at a school in Los Angeles. It was a elementary school, and the principal's like, yeah, we have a suggestion box. I'm like, really? That's nice. Let's go look. And they were like, well, we haven't checked it. And then we haven't acted on any of the things either. So it's one thing to have the box. It's another thing to have the system in place and the what do we do when? That is crucial, or bringing it up at the next community meeting. So really thinking about how do we get our people in place and our voices in place. A positive school culture. What are you doing? Go ahead and put it in chat. What are you doing to build a positive school culture? Really thinking about what are our recognition programs that we provide for our stakeholders to celebrate them, whether they are custodian, whether they are a teacher, or whether they are the front staff. What are we doing that's celebrating them and that's cyclical to where we're not only celebrating them that one time when we recognize they did this, but ongoing. People love to be celebrated, to be recognized and cherished when they are working hard every day, because everybody in the K-12 space is working hard every day. So also, what are we doing to celebrate and connect those bonds, those relationships among peers? So thinking of what of our social events that we're having on, what are we putting on for teachers? Of course, you have every year the staff and student basketball game or staff and student baseball game. Those are collective things that we do. And sometimes we wait till the end of the year. But think about what do we do to form those bonds within the school? What connections can we create based on the school events, maybe yoga, maybe a school walk where we're all walking kind of 5 miles around the school, or just thinking about what implementations that you put in place based on the voices of your teachers. So, right, you're not picking this up from this ivory tower, we call it in academia. You're not picking this up and this, my people need this. It's always like, hey, you guys, I'm thinking of something that we could do together and get their input. Okay, work-life balance. Thinking of how do we heighten maybe safe spaces, or maybe encouraging teachers to kind of shut off their email when they leave the school, or just thinking about having that time and those boundaries and flexible options for teachers. Oh my goodness. So one school, one of the that I worked with, and one of the things is like, hey, for our principal and AP, we have our contract hours, but how could we be flexible to where you're servicing a certain time? So one of the things they implemented is the principal would come in from 5 to a certain time, and the AP would come in from, like, I don't know, 10 a.m. to the 6 or 7 p.m. Right? So thinking about how do we have flexible time for not only our administration, but for our teachers. We are moving in that time where we can do things different within our constructs, but thinking of how do we provide those options and supports. Okay. And thinking of really funding and resource. Salary increases. What else? What else can we provide? What other incentives can we provide? It doesn't have to always be salary, but it would be great if it was money. But thinking of what else can we provide to where there are financial incentives for teachers to go above and beyond. And classroom resources. At the beginning of the year, allocate a certain amount of funds and then kind of ration out pieces. So whether it's pencils, whether it's whatever, pens, whether during professional development, teachers are being celebrated and they can pick from the teacher store, whatever it takes, try to incorporate that through the year. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's breakfast, sometimes it's your favorite snack. One of the things we do is make a list. Hey guys, we're doing this favorite snack. Tell us your favorite snack. And then eventually buy all the favorite snacks and then celebrate teachers throughout the year and provide their favorite snacks. Again, time is your resources. Master schedule. Think about how do we prioritize our planning. At one of the schools I had, we worked with, the school struggled with like PLCs, and it was because teachers had to meet outside of their school hours through the PLCs, and that was challenging. So thinking of how can you implement some of these things throughout the school day so people get the support they need. All right, now fast, last, implementing your teacher strategy. This is what we do in every. So I'm giving you kind of the clue, the key, the ignition to kind of start this passion of yours for teacher retention strategy. Here's my quick 4-step. 4 steps. Assess where you are right now, right? If you had a magic wand, what would you fix? What would you change? How could you do better? Thinking of what do your surveys say? What does your climate say? What are your teachers saying in the room, like in their lunchroom? Like, get that survey, so you can understand the state of where you're at. Move on. So first we assess, then we kind of prioritize. What are we going to do? What's the 1 or 2 things we're going to do? And stick with it. Because what I see a lot of things is people are like, okay, we'll do this one thing. Okay, 2 months later, we got on another thing. Okay, it's now January, we're on another thing. So think of 2 to 3 things that we could track for the year and continuously track them. But everybody is in the database, so they see our results and see where we need to tweak, right? So thinking of what that looks like. 3, measure your impact. So we should not be tweaking in January. We should have tweaked after month 1, or maybe after 2 weeks when we see there are glitches in the system and there are things we need to fix. So tweak often and regularly. And then finally, refine your approach. We're always tweaking, but we need to tweak to fix. Find supports, whatever it takes to make sure you continue with these 2 to 3 strategies a year. And that is your blueprint. That is your action. That is your do now. Again, thank you so much for Transform Ed. David, thank you so much for supporting this. Next week, we'll really talk about how to conduct effective teacher observations. We want to make sure we help you in observations in the classroom. All right, until next time, Cassandra Williams out. Bye.